You've been giving praise the wrong way for years. You're gorgeous. That's an incredible outfit. You have a stunning smile. These sound positive. They feel harmless. But I want you to consider this. If she's heard that exact phrase from 100 men she can't even picture anymore, how would your words make you stand out? They won't. Genuine connection isn't sparked when she feels complimented. It's sparked when she feels uniquely seen, when her mind and spirit feel acknowledged. And that requires a totally different kind of observation. The kind that bypasses her social defenses. The kind that makes her recognize a part of herself she'd forgotten. The kind that has her replaying your conversation hours after you're gone. This guide isn't about making her feel good. It's about making her feel you. These 3 ultimate compliments I'm about to reveal, they resonate not because they are pleasant, but because they carry weight. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed. We share unapologetic truths daily for men who are tired of being average. And if you're set to integrate this at a core level, become a part of the Stoic Brotherhood, and get the frameworks to become a memorable man. Now, let's get to what you'll stop saying immediately and what you'll use instead to capture her thoughts and ignite her desire. Number 1, stop calling her beautiful. Say this instead. You've likely said it countless times. You are so beautiful. It feels standard, doesn't it? You aim to be gentle, charming, maybe a gentleman. But let's face the stark reality. It is ineffective. Not in the way you hope it is. She has received that line from every man who ever wanted something from her. From strangers on apps, from guys she feels zero chemistry with. It's wallpaper, it's forgettable. More importantly, it doesn't move her. It's a surface-level comment, and the surface never seduces the soul. When you tell a woman she's beautiful, you are only confirming something she can already see in the mirror. You don't add anything new to her experience. You're not triggering any novel emotion. Now, don't misunderstand me. Physical appeal matters, but acknowledging it the same way as everyone else makes you invisible. It causes you to fade into the sea of forgotten men. Want to learn what truly connects? Describe the effect her presence has on you. Instead of, "You are beautiful," try this. The way you hold your gaze has a certain edge to it. It's compelling. Notice the change. You have now centered the moment on the connection, the dynamic, the spark flowing between the two of you. You are no longer just an admirer. You are inviting her to acknowledge a shared energy. You suggest a pull without being crass. You're activating her imagination, not just confirming a visual fact. Or try this. I can't tell if you're the kind of trouble I should run from or get closer to. This isn't a remark on her appearance. It's a remark on how she makes you feel. And that contains the psychological secret. A woman isn't captivated by being labeled pretty. She is captivated by feeling truly perceived, by being acknowledged in a manner that most men lack the courage or awareness to articulate. If you want to take it even further, use a compliment that shifts the entire dynamic. Try this. You possess a beauty that you seem completely unconcerned with. That is striking. Now, you're not just acknowledging her attractiveness, you're acknowledging her relationship with it. You're seeing beyond the clothes, the presentation, the curated image. You are seeing her essence. This is where the true force of a compliment lies. Not when you state what's apparent, but when you illuminate what every other man has overlooked. Let's dissect this. There are 3 levels of compliments. 1. Harmless compliments. You're gorgeous. You have nice style. That top suits you. These are okay, but they are just forgettable background static. 2. Sensual compliments. The confidence in how you carry yourself. I felt that shift in the room. These generate chemistry, curiosity, and excitement. 3. Is this psychological compliments? You make me forget my own train of thought. You carry yourself as if you're already unimpressed with how most things will turn out. These engage her on a mental battlefield. They enter her thoughts and refuse to leave. When you cease saying, "You are beautiful," and begin communicating her impact on you, you distinguish yourself. Most men are either too timid to venture there, or have never been shown how. But you are now learning to speak to her core, not just to her ego. And here is what divides the weak from the potent. You do not say these things to fish for a reply. You say them because they are authentic, because you feel them, because you are anchored enough to voice what other men hold back. That type of delivery, the kind that lands with weight and conviction, that is what keeps you on her mind when she is all alone. So, let me ask you, have you ever said something that made her halt, look at you for an extra second, and offer a slow smile like she was in on a secret with you? Drop that experience in the comments. I want to see it. If you have, you already understand the power of saying less but conveying more. And if you have yet to experience that, it all starts now. Because your next words don't just count. They generate the vibe she either becomes addicted to or immediately forgets. The compliment we're covering in the next section is one most men would never have the nerve to say aloud. But after you do, she'll be deaf to everything else. Number 2, the compliment that touches her body and mind at once. Most praise lands in one of two buckets. Either it targets the physical S, you have an amazing figure, your legs are incredible, or it aims for the mental, you're witty, you're really sharp, but it rarely hits both simultaneously. And this is why most men are out of the game before they're even on the field. Here is the key. Most guys don't get it. A woman doesn't just want to feel desired physically. She wants to feel her entire being is understood and wanted at the same time. That combination is what excites her. That is what gets into her system. That is what makes her need more of your presence, not just more of your words. So, how does that sound in practice? Use this. The certainty in your posture is genuinely powerful. And I won't pretend I'm not thinking about where that power comes from. Let's dissect that. The certainty in your posture is genuinely powerful. This is an observation. It communicates that she is seen. It hits the mind. It is about her essence, not her appearance. Then, and I won't pretend I'm not thinking about where that power comes from. That's the punchline. That's what lands on a physical level. It makes her question, what is he imagining? You have created intrigue without being overly direct. It is audacious. It is poised. And it establishes polarity. You are not praising her to gain validation. You are articulating a response she stirred within you. This flips the entire script of power, and a woman can feel that change instantly. Here's another one. The way you command attention just by being still, it's deeply distracting. This one is psychological dynamite. It hints at self-control, elegance, and influence, and you're reacting to it not with simple awe, but with genuine curiosity. You're not just observing her looks, you're observing what her physical language projects. That is exceptionally rare. Why is this so vital? Because women are not drawn to men who can only perceive their exterior. They are magnetically pulled toward men who see their different layers. The physical, yes, but more importantly, the aura, the presence, the authority they radiate. It's like this, you're not inventorying her features like a boy. You're acknowledging her total effect like a grounded man. And that is a form of praise that resonates in both her skin and her soul. Let me offer one final one. You possess the kind of quiet intuition that knows exactly when to speak and when to stay silent. Now this one is potent. Why? Because you aren't just complimenting her. You are demonstrating that you see her discipline. You are noticing her feminine mastery of restraint, which is an understated yet profoundly sensual quality. She will hold on to that because no one else is pointing it out, and that is the objective. Now, let me be very clear. None of these phrases will be effective if you deliver them like a script, reading robot, or a nervous kid trying to score points. The potency is not merely in the words you choose, but in the energy behind them. Relaxed, confident, as if you're not seeking her approval at all. You're simply voicing a truth. Because when a man speaks from that place, he is not another praise dispensing machine. He becomes an entire experience she replays in her thoughts. And that is how she gets hooked. She's no longer pursuing empty validation. She is pursuing the feeling you gave her when you spoke your mind. So here is what I need to know. Have you ever articulated something that made her breath catch for a moment, as if her body was reacting to what her brain just registered? If you have, comment below with, "I've seen it connect," because that is when you know your words have landed in both realms. And if you have not, you are about to, because what's coming next will make her feel something that most men are too hesitant to ever awaken. Stick with me. Number 3, acknowledge her shadows, not just her light. Most men only praise what is easy to see. You are so kind. You are such a joy. You have great energy. Safe. Commonplace. Instantly forgotten. And this is what they fail to grasp. A woman does not want to be viewed as a flawless angel. She wants to be seen as a whole, real human. And real humans have a dark side. So while every other man is complimenting her radiance, you are going to acknowledge her shadows. That part of her she keeps hidden. The intensity she fears is too much for people. The untamed energy she suppresses because society told her to be agreeable, sweet, and soft. You don't dismiss it. You name it. You make her feel that the very thing she's been trying to tame is the very thing that captivates you. Try saying this. You have a flicker of chaos in your eyes. I can't decide if it's drawing me in or warning me to stay away. Now, hold on. You did not call her attractive. You did not call her friendly. You implied there is something wild within her, and that you are intrigued by it. This flips a circuit breaker in her mind. She's lived for years trying to be sweet enough, agreeable enough, easy to handle. But out of nowhere, this man recognizes the fire she's been banking and is drawn to the heat. That's uncommon. That's captivating. Or try this one. You possess the sort of presence that doesn't request permission for the space it occupies. It just claims it. Consider that. You are not praising her politeness. You are acknowledging a force behind her gaze, a power most men are too insecure to ever mention. When you do that, you immediately distinguish yourself from every guy who's just seeking a pretty face and a little affirmation. But let's go further. Why is praising her darker elements so effective? Because it breaks a taboo, because it is genuine, because it signals to her, I am not intimidated by the complete version of you. In fact, that's the part that I find most compelling. This is seductive in a way that praise for her looks can never be. Because it is not about her appearance, it's about granting her permission. You are giving her permission to be imperfect, unscripted, fierce, sensual, and sharp, and you're conveying without needing to say it. All of you is welcome here. That isn't just appealing, that is magnetic. Let's not overlook that this sort of praise is only effective if you are grounded enough to back it up. If you say it as a tactic, it will fall flat. But if it comes from a place of solid presence, calm clarity, and quiet confidence, it will resonate. Because on some deep level, every woman is aware that her shadow side is not a flaw, it has just been concealed. And when a man can see it and not back down, she will never forget him. Try this on an early date. There is a trace of mischief in how you see the world. It's honestly my favorite quality I've noticed so far. Boom. You are not just sidestepping the boring pleasantries. You are unlocking a part of her that she hasn't heard acknowledged since the last man who truly got under her skin. Not just into her bedroom, into her mind. You're not scared of her complexity. You're intrigued by it. So tell me now, have you ever looked a woman in her eyes and complimented the very thing she was afraid of showing? Put it in the comments below. I said the forbidden truth. Because that is where the dynamic truly shifts. That is when attraction stops being polite and starts becoming raw and real. And in the next segment, you will discover exactly how to articulate something she has never heard, but will instantly wish she had heard from you much sooner. Number 4, praise what she is scared to confess she loves. Every woman holds a desire that she secretly treasures, but would never admit to publicly. It is not about receiving flowers. It's not the generic praise everyone offers. It's not the, I love your smile, or you are so warm. It is much deeper than that. It is highly personal, Sometimes it is even a little bit forbidden. You see, most women harbor cravings that they keep buried beneath layers of social conditioning and politeness. Cravings for influence, for release, for being led, for being recognized in ways they are told are unseemly to admit. And that is your opening. Because while other men are praising the mask she wears, you are going to speak to the truth she will not say she wants, but cannot deny when it's presented to her. That is when her defenses crumble. That is when her attraction ceases to be a logical process and becomes a biological one. Let me demonstrate. Try saying this: you excel at being in charge, but I get the sense a part of you deeply craves to just let that go sometimes. That is not merely a phrase. That is a piercing insight. And if you deliver it with a calm assurance, not a hint of cockiness, it will strike her like a bolt of lightning. Why? Because it acknowledges an internal conflict she lives with. She may be a high achiever, a leader, a force in her career, but what she often seeks in her intimate connections is polarity, a counterbalance, a release from her public role. And you just gave voice to a feeling she would never say herself. That is true power. Or consider this one. You act like you're indifferent to being the center of attention, but you command a room with intention. Delivered with the right energy, this is not an accusation. It is a recognition. It's you saying, I get it. Not the public persona, but the ambition beneath it. And that kind of validation can be powerfully addictive. Because here is what you must understand. When you praise the side of her she is afraid to admit she finds pleasurable, you're signaling that she is safe to be her complete self with you, not the edited performance, not the agreeable girl, the entire, complex, real, sensual, and conflicted human being. And that is profoundly rare. Most women are never complimented in that space. They are either idealized and put on a pedestal or pulled down into something superficial. Very few men have learned how to occupy the middle ground, anchored, perceptive, and bold enough to praise the very fire she is trying to hide. Here is another example. Beneath all that composure, there's a quiet hunger. I'd be a liar if I didn't say it intrigued me. You are not implying she is too aggressive. You are saying she has the exact kind of aliveness you want to be around more. And the moment you express it, you have just provided a type of validation that does not just feel pleasant. It feels real. Let me be absolutely clear though. This is only effective if your intention is pure, if you are present and authentic. The moment it feels like a manipulative line, it becomes useless. But when it is the truth, it is unforgettable. Because for a woman, attraction is not just about your identity. It is about how she feels reflected in your eyes. And if you can perceive the parts of her that no one else takes the time to notice, especially the ones she has not fully embraced herself, you will win. So, let me ask you, have you ever told a woman something that made her freeze, as if you had just unlocked a part of her she didn't think anyone could see? If so, write in the comments, I saw the recognition in her eyes. Because if you have ever witnessed that glimmer, that flash of, how on earth did he know that? Then you understand just how deeply this penetrates. And if you have not, you're about to. Because the next compliment I'm going to show you completely flips the entire interaction and makes her start to pursue the feeling that only you can provide. Number 5, make her feel perceived, not just desired. Most men commit the same fundamental error. They believe that signaling desire is the main objective. They pour all their efforts into phrases like, you're incredibly hot, you are so sexy, I can't stop wanting you. And yes, that sort of comment might earn a quick smile, maybe even a flirty response. But here is the raw truth: desire is common. Every woman experiences it constantly, on the internet, in daily life, at the coffee shop, in the supermarket. Desire is literally everywhere, but to be perceived, to be truly seen, that is exceptionally rare. And when you are the man who makes her feel truly perceived, you access a part of her that no comment about her physical form ever could. Let me clarify what I mean. Most men praise the result. You're gorgeous. I can't take my eyes off you. You make me go wild. But the compliments that truly connect, they praise the source. Try this. You can sense a person's intention before they even open their mouth. I can see you carry that awareness quietly, but it is formidable. You didn't tell her she's hot. You didn't call her adorable. You told her, I see the sophisticated way you navigate your reality, and I admire it. That lands on a much deeper level. Or this, you pretend you don't require validation, but you are acutely aware of the moment you step into a new space. Now, you have made her feel profoundly understood. Not just objectified, not just wanted, but comprehended. That is a rare experience. And what is rare is always powerful. Why? Because every woman, particularly the kind of woman who is accustomed to being wanted, eventually learns to filter out these compliments. She develops a shield. She becomes desensitized to it. But when you manage to slip past that shield with a statement that says, I perceive the person behind the mask, and I find that version more compelling, that shield begins to dissolve. You're no longer just another guy trying to get in her bed. You are a man who is paying attention to what no one else even thinks to look for. That is what makes you memorable. That is what sets you apart. Let's go even deeper. Most men offer praise as a transaction to get a positive reaction. But when you validate her unseen qualities, you are not asking for anything. You are offering your presence, your insight, your depth, and whether she acknowledges it or not, that type of compliment lands in a way that she will not be able to shake. Try this one. You appear to always be in complete command, but I'd guess that your mind is in constant motion. That phrase accomplishes two things. One, it demonstrates your emotional perception. Two, it makes her feel that you are attentive to the subtle details, the tone of her voice, the energy she projects, the vibe she gives off that most men are completely oblivious to. It isn't overtly romantic, it isn't sexualized, but it is potent. It is the kind of compliment that will resonate in her mind much later. Because every woman knows how it feels to be desired, but to be seen without having to perform, without having to force a smile, without having to showcase her body. That hits on a different frequency. Now, I'm not suggesting you should entirely avoid showing desire. Desire is a powerful force. But it should never be the initial path you take. Lead with your awareness. Lead with your anchored perception. Allow her to feel that you have seen the version of her that exists beneath all the surface. Level praise she constantly receives. Then, should you decide to articulate your desire later on, it will feel earned, genuine, and grounded. So, let me ask you, have you ever said something to a woman that made her stop her social smile and just look at you as if you had struck a chord of truth? Drop a comment below with, she paused, because that pause, that is the moment where true connection sparks. And the next compliment we'll discuss doesn't just make her pause. It makes her start to imagine a future with you in it. Number 6, say what no other man has the courage to say. Let me share something that most men will never understand. A woman does not remember the man who played it safe. She remembers the man who made her feel something undeniable. And that feeling is never triggered when you say the expected things. It is triggered when you say the one thing no one else has the guts to voice. Here is the common pitfall most guys get caught in. They work hard to be approved of. They try to be pleasant. They aim to be inoffensive, and in doing so, they become utterly bland. They censor every word. They walk on metaphorical eggshells. They filter themselves with such intensity that they lose their entire presence. And what do you think happens? She feels it. She doesn't feel intrigued. She doesn't feel curious. She feels a profound sense of boredom. But the man who steps into that space and says the thing she has never heard from anyone else, he doesn't just differentiate himself. He takes up residence in her mind. So, what does that actually sound like? Here is an example. I find that people who are always smiling are often hiding something far more interesting. Now, pause. You have not insulted her. You haven't been hostile. You just voiced a raw truth that most people are too polite to ever say out loud. It is bold. It is unfiltered. It is challenging. But more than anything, it's real. And women do not crave more hollow praise. They crave truth that has a little bit of a sting, but a whole lot of staying power. Or try this one. You strike me as the kind of person who keeps people at a distance, just to see if they'll try to get closer. That isn't a flirtatious line. That is not sugar coating reality. That is the statement of a man whose eyes are wide open. That is a man who is not afraid to identify her patterns, instead of tiptoeing around them cautiously. Why is this so effective? Because women are completely accustomed to men who conceal themselves, hiding their true thoughts, hiding their masculine energy, hiding behind a wall of compliments with the hope of getting a positive outcome. But when you speak without that fear, she is compelled to lean in, not because you are necessarily correct, but because you are genuine. You did not say what she expected to hear. You said what no one else would have the courage to articulate. And that activates an attraction that goes much deeper than surface level charm ever could. Let me take it one step further. I'm not concerned with whether you like me. I'm concerned with whether we can be honest with one another. That line demolishes the entire performance. You have just informed her that this interaction is not about you trying to win her affection. It is about forging a connection without the usual social masks. And that is incredibly rare. Now you must grasp this. Saying audacious things only has power if your presence is completely grounded. If you're trying to be provocative just to elicit a response, she will sense your insecurity immediately. But if your energy is calm, centered, and detached from the result, that is when the words land with force. That is when she becomes intensely curious. That is when you transform into an enigma she wants to solve. Because most men are trying to buy her attention. You just state what is genuinely on your mind, not to provoke, not to manipulate, but because you are finished with pretending. And that makes her feel something she cannot logically explain, but will never forget. You see, the most courageous thing a man can do with a woman in today's world is to speak the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because her external beauty doesn't sway you. Her social strategies don't intimidate you. Her approval is not your objective. You are the one person who sees past the act and has the courage to speak to the human being underneath. So, here is my final question for you on this point. Have you ever said something so real that she didn't know if she should laugh or take a step back? Drop a comment below saying, "I said the unspoken thing." Because if you have already experienced that powerful shift. And if you have not, you are about to. Because in the next part, we are going to flip the script entirely, and I will show you the one type of compliment that can shift the energy of an entire room in your favor, even when you deliver it with your eyes instead of your mouth. Number 7, wield compliments with the scarcity of a king. Here is a harsh reality. Most men dispense compliments like they are handing out free samples. Fast, cheap, and everywhere. You look stunning. You are so brilliant. You're truly special. And what is the result? Their words become devalued. She is constantly hearing them. They all merge into a forgettable hum of noise. But you are not like most men. You deliver a compliment with the precision of a king, and a king does not speak to gain approval. He speaks to make a declaration. He speaks with a clear intention, not from a reactive impulse. So, allow me to ask you this. When was the last time you consciously held back from giving a compliment? Not out of fear, but out of a position of power. Scarcity is what creates value, and when your praise is rare, your presence becomes truly memorable. You see, a woman's psyche does not crave endless flattery. It craves a sense of certainty, the kind of anchored energy that feels no need to rush forward and put on a show. Let's explore this further. Imagine you're in a fantastic conversation with her. Most men would already be showering her with praise like it's raining. But you are composed, interested, and grounded. Then, after 10 minutes of allowing her to speak, of observing her energy expand, you look at her directly and say, "You know, the way you connect different ideas is truly unique." Boom. Just like that, You have delivered one specific, undeniable, and high-value compliment. There is no fluff. There is no desperate attempt to curry her favor. Just a single, well-placed sentence that lands deeply, precisely because you forced her to earn it. That is what a king does. Or try this approach. There is a centered stillness about you that most people probably miss. I appreciate it. That sort of praise does not just make her feel she is attractive. It makes her feel she is profoundly seen. And the most beautiful part, because you have not diluted it with 10 other meaningless phrases, that single compliment will echo in her mind. Now, allow me to explain the psychology behind why this is so effective. It is a clear principle. The lower the availability of a resource, the higher its perceived value becomes. So, when you make your compliments a scarce resource, you fundamentally alter the dynamic. She begins to wonder, what prompted him to say that right now? Why did he pick that specific moment? What else is he observing that he isn't yet sharing? Now she is the one who is intrigued. Now she is the one who is leaning forward. Now you are the one controlling the frame of the interaction. Let's examine the opposite scenario for a moment. When you praise excessively, you cast yourself in the position of the supplicant. You diminish your own status. You become the one who is attempting to gain her acceptance. But when you speak like a man who has no need to be liked, who gives out his approval selectively, like someone who is fully aware of his own worth, you activate attraction on a level that most men will never access. You are no longer trying to be selected. You have already selected yourself, and she can feel that difference viscerally. Here is the underlying secret. The most potent compliment is the one she feels she had to earn, even if she is not entirely sure what she did to deserve it. Because that mystery, that underlying tension, it will drive her wild. So, deploy your words with wisdom. Do not use praise just to fill empty air. Speak less, but let it mean more. Say what is authentic, but deliver it as if it cost you something to reveal it. That is how you become impossible to forget. So, tell me, have you ever spoken less and watched the impact of your words multiply? Drop it in the comments. I speak like a king. Because the man who understands the value of his own words is a man who understands his own value. And in the next section we explore, it shows you how to leave an indelible mark without saying anything at all, using a presence so potent she will feel it long after you are gone. Number 8, transform a compliment into an invitation to rise. Let me tell you something truly bold. A compliment is merely the starting point. What infuses it with power is when it seamlessly transforms into a challenge. Most men stop at simple validation. You are exceptional. You are captivating. You are so brilliant. It is pleasant. It is sweet, but it ignites nothing. Because when you inform a woman she is exceptional, and she is already well aware of it, you are just another voice in her chorus of admirers. But what occurs when you take that praise and deftly pivot it into a challenge? Now you have just exited the friend zone. Now you have stepped into the frame of a man who perceives her full potential and dares to test it. Here is what that can look like in action. Let's say she is discussing how she never allows anyone to affect her emotionally. Most guys would simply nod in agreement and say, "That's very strong." You, however, say, "That's admirable." But I would wager you have constructed walls so tall, you've started to forget how it feels to be truly seen by someone. Boom. You have just transformed her perceived strength into a portal. But you praised her resilience, but you also challenged the vulnerability she keeps hidden behind it. And that is what gets remembered. Or, let's say she is constantly in a state of control. Composed, high status, always put together. Most men will attempt to earn her praise. But you look her straight in the eye and say, "It's clear to me that you're accustomed to taking the lead. I have to wonder if you still remember what it feels like to truly let go." That phrase, that is not disrespectful. It is not aggressive. It is a reflection of masculine presence. It reveals something to her about herself that has not been reflected back at her in a very long time. Because women don't just crave being complimented. They crave friction, boundaries, polarity, and a grounded presence. And when you compliment and challenge within the same breath, you communicate that you are not intimidated by her. You are not present to worship her. You are present to engage with her. You are there to lead. Let's analyze why this functions on a psychological level. Compliments provide her with a sense of validation. Challenges provide her with a sense of stimulation. When you combine them, she feels seen, she feels alive, she feels intrigued. And intrigue is the natural habitat where attraction flourishes. Because when you articulate what most men would be too afraid to say, when you stand firmly enough to shake her composure just a little bit, she will not forget it. She may offer a smile, she might push back playfully, she might even banter back with you. But internally, she is paying very close attention, because what you have just done is separate yourself from all the noise. You did not simply repeat what every other guy says. You woke her up. Let me give you one more. She tells you, men find me intimidating. Most men would defensively reply, not me. You, however, say, perhaps they do. Or perhaps you have created a persona that is too easy for them to feel intimidated by. Now, she is uncertain whether she should challenge your assertion or pursue your approval. In either case, you have captured her full attention, and that is the entire game. The man who can trigger both her curiosity and a sense of confrontation is the man who becomes unforgettable. But you must remember this, it is only effective if your delivery is completely anchored. No arrogance, no neediness, just calm clarity. You are not launching an attack. You are not trying to prove a point. You are extending an invitation, inviting her into a deeper version of herself, a version she may not have even been aware of until you gave it a name. That isn't just flirting. That is transformational. So, let me put this to you. Have you ever said something to a woman that felt like you were issuing a dare, and then watched her rise up to meet it? If the answer is yes, drop a comment below with, "She met the challenge." Because if you have witnessed that spark, that flash of intrigue, defiance, and attraction all mixed into one, you know that you are not just praising her, you are activating her. And in the next part, we will take this even further. Because now that you have ignited the challenge, you are about to discover how to say even less, do even less, and yet accomplish infinitely more. Number 9, make her wonder why you are occupying her thoughts. Let me pose a deep question. What causes a woman to be lying awake in her bed at night, thinking about you? Not just recalling your words, but genuinely asking herself, why can I not get him out of my head? It is not your appearance, not your possessions, not your bank account. It is the psychological footprint you leave in your wake. If you want to distinguish yourself, do not just aim to impress her. Do not just flirt with her. Make her question herself. And this is the critical point. You achieve that not by pursuing her relentlessly, but by creating enough space for her mind to wander. You see, women are drawn to the impact, not just the interaction. They are drawn to the emotional afterglow, not merely the present moment. So, how do you generate that? You begin by being completely unpredictable. Say something that causes her to pause. Make a very subtle observation about her that feels almost too precise. Like this, you communicate as if you're an open book. But I can sense you withhold the things that truly matter. Now, she is not just responding to you. She is reflecting on why you were able to see that. Or this one, you appear serene, but your eyes are constantly scanning your surroundings, like someone who is always assessing the situation. You did not flirt. You did not praise. You unlocked a hidden door. That type of moment does not conclude when the conversation is over. It continues to resonate. Why? Because you have generated an echo. And that echo will continue to bounce around inside her consciousness long after you have physically departed. Let me be absolutely clear. This is not about being mysterious for the sake of being mysterious. It is about being present enough to perceive what everyone else misses, and then creating just enough distance for her to ask, why did that feel so different? What did he notice in me? Why do I find myself wanting more of that feeling? That is where your true power resides. Most men try to remain on her radar by inundating her with messages. You, on the other hand, exit with surgical precision, and your absence becomes more potent than their constant attention. Because she does not just miss your company, she misses the way she felt in your presence. She misses the version of herself that only seemed to emerge when you were there. Now, here is a truly advanced move. When she discloses something vulnerable from her past, you do not react in the same way as everyone else. Do not say, "That sounds like it was very difficult." Do not say, "I am sorry that happened to you." Instead, you simply say, "That puts a lot of things into perspective." Then, you become silent. Allow that silence to draw her in. She will sit with that statement. She will contemplate it. She will feel your presence even when you are not physically there. And this is where the psychology truly takes hold. The human brain dislikes unresolved questions. When you create emotional, intellectual, or even physical space, her mind will work overtime attempting to fill in the gaps. So, she begins to create narratives for herself. And guess who the protagonist of those narratives is? It is you. Because you have established a type of presence that endures, not through noise, but through clarity. Here is the simple truth. Most women will forget the men who tried to appear flawless, but they will never forget the man who made them question their own patterns, reflect on their own behaviors, and experience a feeling they cannot easily articulate. You become the thought that she tries to dismiss, but that always resurfaces when her phone is quiet, when her bed feels too spacious, when her daily distractions finally cease to work. So, here is your next challenge. Can you be so grounded, so perceptive, so completely present that your absence becomes her private obsession? If the answer is yes, tell me in the comments. She's thinking but doesn't know why. Because if you have done this correctly, she will not just think about you, she will strive to understand you. And that is a mental loop she will continue to chase until the final moment when you ultimately decide whether to let her in or to keep walking forward with your power fully intact. In the final part, we will shift gears one last time and show you how to seal an impression that she will never be able to erase. Number 10. The compliment that creates a desire for more. Let's discuss the kind of praise that does not fully satisfy her. That sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But herein lies the secret. The most potent compliment is the one that cracks open a door and then leaves it slightly ajar. Not slammed shut, not thrown wide open, but just open enough to make her crave what lies beyond. You see, this is because most men offer compliments that conclude the interaction. You are stunning. You are hilarious. You are incredibly sexy. And poof. That's the end of it. It's finished. She has heard it countless times before. But when a man delivers a phrase that resonates, when his praise hints at something far deeper, she does not just offer a polite smile. She develops a need for more. Not more of your attention, but more of your understanding. Let me show you how this works. She says something insightful. Most guys would respond with, "That is really intelligent." You instead say, "That was an unexpected perspective." It is subtle. It acknowledges her intelligence, but it also implies that there are other layers to her that she has yet to reveal. She will smile, but inside her mind, a series of questions will fire off. What did he expect from me? What other assumptions does he have about me? Why did that feel so intriguing? You did not close the moment. You initiated a new one. Or try this. She is talking about her competitive nature. Most guys would say, "That's attractive." You say, "I can tell that you despise losing." That's probably the same thing that keeps you from ever being satisfied. That is not just a simple compliment. That is an invitation to a deeper level of connection. You are communicating. I perceive something profound in you, but I am not going to hand you the complete analysis just yet. This is how you transform a basic compliment into an act of mental seduction. And here is the essential technique. Do not elaborate on it. Do not try to justify it. Simply state it, and then allow her to exist in the space that your words have created. Women remember how they were made to feel more than what they were told. So, if you can make her feel curious, slightly unbalanced, and yet profoundly seen, you are not just giving her praise, you are becoming a lingering presence in her mind. Think about this. Most human beings are desperate to be completely understood. But when someone seems to understand you too quickly, it becomes uninteresting. When someone almost understands you, when they catch flashes of your inner truth, but leave you with an appetite for the rest, now that is completely addictive. That is how your words can become an emotional cliffhanger. Let's take this from another angle. She reveals something about her past, something complex, maybe even a bit dark. Most guys would instinctively avoid it, trying to remain polite. But you lean in just a little and say, that is the part of your history that I actually find the most compelling. Now, you have done something very risky. You have just praised the very thing that she probably tries to hide. You have validated the messy parts, the shadow, the elements of her that she assumes no man would ever want to touch. But you did not overdo it. You did not transform the moment into a therapy session. You just delivered it quietly, with confidence. And now she is thinking about it. She is replaying your words. She is wondering why that statement hit her with such force. And that is what will make her desire more. Not more empty compliments, but more of you. Not because you said something pretty, but because you articulated something no one else would have dared to say in the exact way that you said it. That is high caliber masculine presence. Here is the mindset you need to adopt. Every compliment you give should be designed to pique her curiosity, not to inflate her ego. Make her lean in towards you, not relax back away from you. Make her feel just a little bit exposed, yet completely safe in your presence. Let her think more about what you didn't say than what you did. And when she walks away from that interaction, she should not feel as though she has simply been praised. She should feel as if she has been studied and admired for something so specific, so unique, that it makes her wonder, who is this man? Why am I feeling this way? What else does he see in me? When you can ignite those kinds of questions with just a handful of words, that is no longer a compliment. That is a seed that you have planted deep within her psyche. And some seeds, as we know, can grow into an obsession. So always remember this. Do not praise to impress, praise to ignite. And if you have ever made a woman pause, smile, and then fall into a thoughtful silence, you have likely already done this. Let me know in the comments by writing, I left her thinking. Because sometimes it's not about what you say, it's about what you almost said. And that silence, that space, that is where true desire begins to grow. And now you understand why most men offer compliments to seek attention. You will give them to spark emotion, create tension, and forge a lasting memory. That is the difference between being a forgotten memory and being actively wanted. If this video spoke to a truth within you,